Hi, folks. Steve Urban here, founder and CEO at recruiting and consulting firm Riderflex. If you think today's tip or guest interview can help someone you know, please share this with them. And if you enjoy listening to our show, please subscribe to our channel and hit the like button on the episodes. Finally, aside from our podcast, our day job here at Riderflex is to provide recruiting, staffing, and consulting services. You can visit riderflex.com to learn more about us and get the information on the services we provide. And now, a quick word from our sponsor and friends at Marketing 360.
Try the #1 marketing platform for small business. Everything you need from design to marketing to CRM. Learn more at marketing360.com. Marketing 360. Fuel your brand.
Liz Carter on the Riderflex podcast. Hi, Liz. How are you?
Hey, Steve. I'm great. Thanks. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. So are you in Australia today? And if you are, tell us whereabouts and how's the weather?
Yeah, today and every day. I'm in Australia. I'm in Gold Coast and the weather is lovely. It's winter. We have 22 degrees Celsius during the day. So it's like your spring, maybe.
I see. 22 degrees Celsius. What is that Fahrenheit? I don't know. I should know, but I don't.
No idea.
No, okay.
But it's like your spring. It's like it's warm. You can actually sit in the sun in your bathing suit and get some sun.
Nice. Are you close to the water?
I'm right on the beach.
Sweet. Okay. So you can just walk out of your place and walk out onto the sand. Okay. That's pretty
Exactly.
awesome. Yeah. Is that where you're from?
No. You can pick up an accent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it all the time.
I did my homework on you ahead of time, but for the listeners, yeah. Tell everybody, where you're from, a little bit about, where you grew up and your family and everything, before Australia. Yeah, go for it.
I'm Romanian. I grew up in, let's say, a medium-sized town in Romania.
Okay.
My mom is an English teacher. My dad was in the military, but then he started the family business in forestry exploitation back in 1992, and has been doing that ever since. I have a brother. I have a niece who is 1, and I have a daughter who is my everything. She's 9.
She's 9. Okay, very good. Awesome. Okay, so you grew up there. You went to high school, went to college in that area as well?
Not in that area. So I went to high school. I grew up there up until uni came, and there was no way around uni. By the way that my parents raised me, there were some options. Here's what you can choose from, but you're going to uni. So gotcha. I went to uni in Bucharest. Okay. I studied business administration, and I studied it in English. So it was something interesting for that time. There were still Romanian teachers, but they were teaching in English.
Oh, they were.
So I finished uni in Bucharest, went back home, and started working inside the family business with my dad.
So that's the family business on your LinkedIn profile. I was wondering.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Yes. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Was that tough working for dad?
Yes and no. I mean, my dad is he's very intense, to say so, but he taught me a lot of the things that I know today. So we spent maybe 8 or 9 years working side by side, pulling the family business out of a bunch of trouble and taking it to the next level. And that was awesome. While I was working, I also enrolled for a master's degree, which I was studying every weekend. I was driving to Bucharest. And that was very intensive because we had teachers from the UK to come and teach us. So it was 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, really?
And that was awesome. I studied business accounting, and that was pretty much my early.
Did
20s.
you know what you wanted to do? Were you thinking I'm going to take over the business for my dad? Was that the plan, or did you always want to do something else?
That was his plan. And I think it was my plan as well for a long time. I mean, I was a good child. My parents raised me in a loving family. They gave me great direction. And I followed through up until my late 20s. I followed through pretty much everything that I was supposed to. And then I think I hit a ceiling. So I was in uni for like 10 years. I studied 2 bachelor degrees and 1 master's.
Mm.
I did everything that I thought I had to regarding the family business. And then I'd hit a ceiling. So, what's next? I'm not even 30 and I just want to take over the world.
Now, when you say hit a ceiling, does that mean
Professional.
you wanted your dad to give you more control and let you start to take over, but he wasn't willing to give up the reins? Is that?
I think so. We had our clashes where he had some opinions, I had other opinions. For a long time, that was something that shook me. But then I realized that he actually knew better how to run the business. He had done it since 1992. I was just getting started. And then I realized I wanted more. I wanted more for myself, for my daughter. I mean, I wanted my daughter to grow up in a different society, ideally in a first world country. That would be great.
Okay.
So at the
All
point
right.
where I started having these ideas and struggling around what should I do next, I was following a fitness girl here in Gold Coast called Emily Sky. So she actually lives like very close to me. I never met her, but I would love to.
Okay.
And she was posting on Snapchat. She posted from the airplane she was filming Surfer's Paradise. And I'm like, oh, where is that? That's amazing. So I looked it up on Google and I was hooked. I don't care what it takes. I'm going there.
Did you know what you were going to do when you got there, or did you
No idea. No clue.
Wow. So what do you go to your dad and you're like, Dad, listen, I've been following
No,
this.
I didn't tell them.
You didn't?
So it took me 2 years of exams, and like Australia makes it very hard to get a PR visa. It took me 2 years to get the visa. After I got it, I told them.
Wow. So 2 years of planning to go to Australia.
Yeah, my dad didn't speak to me for 2 weeks after I told him.
What about your mom? What'd your mom say?
My mom is lovely. At the end of the day, she accepts what makes me happy. Of course, she wasn't happy with it, but
what about the fact that you took their granddaughter away? Right, that was probably a big deal.
Well, she's been visiting my mom. She's been really good
Okay.
around that.
Okay.
She's come here 4 times, I believe. Yeah, already.
Oh, she has. Plus, I'm guessing they're on video chat with each other all the time.
All the time. My Erin calls her like in the middle of the night for her. She just.
Okay, so all right, so you go to your dad. Okay, so you get your visa, you do all the things you need to do to get ready, but you don't have. How are you going to support yourself? Would you save up a bunch of money, or did you what were you going to do for work, and how did you support yourself?
So at that point we left. It was my ex-husband, myself, and my daughter. All 3 of us were supposed to move here and start from scratch.
Oh, you were married. So you were married at the time. So it was going to be all 3. I see. Okay.
Correct.
All right.
Gotcha. And I think we had like 15K when we left.
Okay.
And
it's
I was
not
like,
a bunch, but
no, but like I was worst case scenario, I'm going to be an accountant. I mean, that's the worst case scenario. But I had started my first business idea from Romania. It was an online fitness business.
Okay.
And I was getting clients in Australia. So it had started to pick up a little bit. Like the fitness industry is very competitive. And
yes.
I had a passion for it. So I was like, well, I'm going to do that. I'll see how it goes.
Okay.
So I started that. And that's how I came here. Like that was the idea of, and I did that for about 2 years. It just never made a real profit, like something that I could actually take and run with it.
Gotcha. All right. So somehow you end up becoming a marketing branding expert. Did that happen because of your experience with your dad's business, or when you tried to start your own fitness business? How did that happen? Move us into that a little bit.
From when I started my fitness business, I had to learn everything. I built everything for myself: website, branding. I ran Facebook ads, and that's when I actually got started with chatbots. So I was in this mastermind with this guy Lynn from Melbourne, who was teaching me everything around building an online fitness business.
Okay.
And one day he's like, Liz, go to ManyChat, create an account, learn how to build bots, go to Zapier, learn automation, and do that for your business. I'm like, all right. So I do that.
Wow. So self-taught in many ways then for what you're doing now.
Yes, 100%.
Okay. Very good. All right. So then let me see here. Infinitive Solutions. What was that? What is that? Is that where you
So
doing that?
That's my current agency that I started in December 2019. I just changed the name because Facebook blocked my business manager account.
Why? Why did they do that?
Because my business name was Infinitive Solutions and my website was Grow. And they were like, they don't match. They have to match. So they suspended I couldn't run ads for my clients. I couldn't do anything. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I had to go through the verification process where I created a new business name, a new website, exactly the same. And that was it.
Okay, that's what happened. I was looking at your profile, trying to understand what was going on. Now, isn't that crazy, by the way, how Facebook just blocks you or cancels you or whatever? There's no like warning, there's no ticket, there's no conference call, there's no anything. It's just they just turn you off.
I know it is what it is. You gotta play by the rules.
I guess so. We mentioned cannabis one time in one of our ads as a recruiting firm. We mentioned cannabis. Just we didn't even know you couldn't. I thought you could, and we mentioned cannabis on Facebook, and boom, all of a sudden, just like that, they said, "Okay, you can't run ads anymore." I'm like, "What?
Done.
What? Wait a minute. What? Hold on. Can't we talk about it? Like, can't we like?" I mean,
no. Yeah.
Can I pay like a fine or something? How do I get out of this? Anyway. Okay. So that's how that happened. All right. So, but now, okay. So the LLC or whatever it is, the way your entity is set up then is your entity is Infinitive Solutions, but you're branded as GR0W AI. Is that accurate?
No, I registered another business name in May this year. That's what I transitioned towards. Okay. So that's going to remain. Infinitive Solutions is going to expire, this business name, end of this year, and it's going to be gone.
I see. I like GR0W AI anyway. I like that better.
Me too.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know, it's catchy. I like it. I like it. So why don't you tell us, give us the overview of GR0W AI, what it is, what you do, and why it's better than other people that do the same thing. Go for it.
Well, first of all, there's not a lot of other people that do the same thing. So
that's good.
That's one. So GR0W AI is a conversational AI agency, which is a fancy word of what you would call AI-powered chatbots. When you think Facebook Messenger conversation chatbots, combined with Google's AI, which is Dialogflow. That means when somebody goes into Messenger and types whatever random question they have, and we have implemented AI, then the AI is going to pick up the intent and the context and respond accordingly. Otherwise, at the point where you only have a chatbot, is probably going to break the chatbot. So the whole point of my agency is helping e-commerce businesses deliver the personalization and instant value that consumers now expect. Where somebody wants to buy something from an e-commerce brand, they usually DM you on Instagram, and we do that as well, Instagram DM automation, or they DM you on Facebook and ask a bunch of questions around, is it good for me? Can you help me choose? Do you ship too? How do I do that? And that's where we come in and build all sorts of use cases and campaigns with the sole purpose of helping these visitors buy faster and then helping the e-commerce brands win them as a long-term customer. Because through all the use cases and campaigns that we build month by month, we have two main goals: generate more revenue through this channel for the brand and add more and more value to their customer base and visitors.
Are you the person that I call when I want to put a chat bot on my website, or can you also fix or enhance whatever it is I'm already using? Can you do both?
I can fix it if it's Facebook Messenger, Instagram DM automation, or right now we just joined WhatsApp automation. If
Okay.
it's anything else, no.
Not yet. So not
Not
chat
yet.
box, not chat box on a website, but for Facebook.
It is on the website. No, it works on the website as well. So it's
It does.
attached to the website, to the Facebook page. It runs as a Facebook ad, for example, where we build a specific campaign around, let's say, Avi ran a challenge. We build the whole campaign inside of ManyChat, which is our platform where we build it. And then we ran a Facebook ad to get people inside the bot and nurture them and take them through the whole selling process of them joining the challenge.
I see. And by the way, for the listeners, Obvi, OBVI, and the URL for that is myobvi.com. But Obvi, a collagen product company, they're one of your clients. Yeah, you're holding up one of the cups right there.
Yeah, I love it.
My wife does too, by the way.
I know.
So you are part of their marketing resource team, I guess, right? They have different marketing people that work for them, but they use you specifically for conversational AI. Is that right?
Yes. So we work on a monthly basis, and I handle everything chatbots for them.
Wow. Oh, well, hey, they got a great brand, and if you're doing stuff for them, then you're and those guys are experts at marketing. So if they're using GR0W AI and talking to Liz Carter, then you must be good. That's all I can say, right?
Thank you. We've been working together for 8 months. I mean, they were actually amongst the first clients to join me on this new business model.
How did you meet those? How'd you meet them?
I was in May last year. I started prospecting on this new business model because COVID smashed all of my previous idea where I was doing chatbots, but for local businesses, gyms and med spas, and all that, we know what that happened with COVID.
Yes.
So like, well, now what do I do? So I had to rethink and reorient myself. Like, I need to work with somebody that actually functions during these times. So I was just prospecting. I was prospecting various brands, and I landed on myobvi.com. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, I love it. Like, it's collagen and it's pink. So,
right.
So I think I found Ron on LinkedIn. I sent him an email, I believe, with something, and he got back to me. So that's when we had our first call. And then I just kept hammering him like over the course of like probably 6 months or so. We actually started working together in October. So from May to October, he was like, right, okay, let's do it. I think he just wanted to get rid of me. So
what a great example for the listeners right here. I mean, if we can just take a pause, there is an example for any aspiring entrepreneurs out there. You have got to hustle your ass off. You can't just make one phone call or one email and expect to get business. I mean, here, Liz, first of all, you said I had to pivot. So I had to pivot my business. I had to make some adjustments. Then I was prospecting. Then I found a brand that I liked, that I was passionate about, that I wanted to work with, which is also key. Find people you want to work with that you're excited about. Then you pursued them appropriately, right? And you stayed after it and finally got Ron on the phone. A great job. I mean, that's a great example for the listeners. So many people I talk to, they're like, well, I made a phone call or I sent one email, but nobody ever got back to me. It's like,
they don't care. Nobody cares about you. Like, you have to let them know, like, I can do stuff for you. Like, just give me a shot. Just give me a chance.
Right. I mean, it's a great job. And by the way, you landed an awesome client
I know.
not only great people, but a growing, exciting, fun brand.
Yeah.
And if you're working for somebody like that, I mean, great job. Okay, so let me ask you a couple of questions. So, as a novice here, layman's terms for me, conversational AI. So when I think about that, I'm thinking, well, my reaction sometimes is, this is a robot talking to me, not a human being. Like, I really wish I was talking to a human being. I react that way sometimes. What's your response to that? What's your response to my reaction? How should I be? Because sometimes I can tell, like, I'm like, wait a minute, I think this is a chat box, not a chat bot, not a real person. And I have
You
this.
you should be able to tell. In
Mm,
the States, we are obliged by law to tell people they're actually talking to a chatbot.
oh, I didn't
Like
know
you,
that.
you can't say like, oh, hey, it's Liz. They're actually talking. No, they have to know they're
Oh,
talking to a chatbot. And at the point where the chatbot passes over the conversation to the human, so the user always has the option to open a conversation with the human. And that's where, for example, Ron's team comes into place,
oh,
where whatever the chatbot cannot handle or the user doesn't get value from, and they want to talk to an actual human, they do get the option to open the conversation with the human. Then the human
didn't.
handles it,
Oh,
closes it, and then passes it over to the chatbot.
I didn't know that. Now, it's interesting, by the way, that my wife is an example, and then both of my younger sons, they would prefer not to talk to a human being. And in fact, if they find out it is a human and not a chatbot, then they get annoyed. So,
Well, because a chatbot, if you build it out properly, it is much better because it gives people the value instantly. It's like right there. When somebody
fast.
wants to buy something, they want to buy it now. They don't want to buy it in. I've had like the way that I'm prospecting new clients is like I'm actually going through everything. I go and talk to their customer support team. Sometimes it takes 2 weeks to answer all of my questions. They're like,
Right?
nobody's going to buy after 2 weeks. Like
Great point.
by tomorrow, they're just going to buy from somebody else.
Right? And the chatbot gives you instant answers. Boom, boom, boom. Then you can
Exactly.
make
And if it can't, it's gonna say something like, I didn't quite get that, Liz. I'm still AI in development and I'm still learning. Would you like me to connect you to my human team? Or, something like that if it doesn't understand what they're saying.
Now, you're not a developer or a coder or whatever. So how'd you build it? How'd you do this?
I work with people who are smarter than I am.
Me too.
Yeah.
Uh, so let's talk about that a little bit. How did you, because a lot of entrepreneurs listen to this show, a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs. How did you bootstrap or fund the build out of your business? Because I'm assuming you had to work with software engineers or coders or whatever to get some of this done. Talk to me about it.
I didn't need to do anything. Right now, I can single-handedly handle everything.
Really? What?
I had to go in and learn everything before I brought in someone who can take those learnings and make them better. So I had in my mind use cases that I wanted to create. I created it myself at a basic level, to say so. And then I brought in new people who just made it better. Like I'm now coming up with ideas and they just make it happen. But there is really no cost of running my business. Like literally, I know how it sounds, but I mean,
Oh,
I'm paying my team, but I could also do it myself at this point because I've
mm,
built the
mm,
systems.
mm.
I have everything recorded, documented, training videos, a bunch of stuff that all of these bright people are helping me put together so I can better train new team members coming in and scale it.
How big is the company now? How many employees you got?
There were three of us, but
Okay.
they're scattered. Colombia, um, Cyprus, Germany. We used to be in the States as well, but there's
Okay.
nobody in Australia, just me.
Okay. Okay. And what's your goal for the business? Or right now, are you just having fun building it? Or do you have like a secret whiteboarded plan already? Like, oh, when I get it to here, I'm going to go I'm going to, sell it or get acquired, or right now you're just charging forward?
No, there's no whiteboard. The whiteboard is in my head. I spent, I guess at this point, close to 12 months just setting up everything, coming up with all the potential use cases and campaigns, and I can just plug into a new e-commerce business and instantly generate ROI. I've put together systems. I've put together a bunch of stuff that I felt that I needed to have laid out before I started scaling. And I believe now it's time to scale it. And when I think about the future, I do think of an exit, maybe 3 to 5 years from now. I actually just joined a month ago Grant Cardone's 10x exit course.
What's that costing you? Never mind. You don't have to tell me.
Grant Cardone.
Yeah. It's not free.
No. So I'm learning how to build everything from the get-go so that I can, first of all, exit my role at some point, and then not necessarily exit the business. Like, I don't think I'm going to exit the business, but I might exit in the sense of starting to invest in real estate and other, I think it's going to be real estate.
Let somebody else run the day-to-day eventually.
Yeah, well, I love it. And there's still great potential. Like, we're going to have voice AI at some point. There is so much stuff, and we are basically leading the way. There are not a lot of agencies actually being able to do this at this level. There are a lot of bot builders who can build a bot, then forget about it, but that's not going to do much.
Are we all just going to be talking to robots at some point? Are we ever going to... Will we soon live in a world where no matter what store you go into or what business you call, you're going to be talking to a robot? You think that's where we're headed?
Well, I think that's the point of automating repetitive tasks, to let the humans actually do what they do best, which involves emotion and other things that a robot can't actually replicate. But in terms of that, that's just going to make our lives, I think, easier. It's going to be something like, let's set up a meeting. Well, I'll have my bot get in touch with your bot, and they're going to schedule it. But I think that's where we're going. But in terms of actually replacing humans and emotion and what makes us special, probably not going to happen anytime soon.
By the way, I like the idea of bots scheduling with bots. So that,
it's happening. Yeah.
I mean, right. I know I use Calendly, and everybody starts to use something now, right? Everybody wants to send you their link to schedule. And I do the same thing.
My daughter doesn't function without Siri. She's like, I tell her, go, she asks me something. I don't know what to tell her. I'm like, go look it up on YouTube or Google. She goes and she asks Siri, and Siri looks it up for her.
Oh, really?
So
wow.
That's her generation.
Interesting, right? If she's growing up thinking, I just have this assistant inside this little smartphone that just does stuff for me.
Well, I've been pushing her. She's been doing coding for 1.5 years now. So I'm like, you need to learn to yeah. What I tell her, you need to.
Oh, I lost your audio.
Be a superstar.
Oh, I lost that right there. You were telling her something about being a superstar.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Right. So what I keep telling her is, if you want to be free in the world that you're going to live in, you need to learn how to speak, spell, and code. That's it.
I love it. Oh, that's a good line. Yeah. Great line. Okay. So your client base now, how big is it? Can you share that? Do you have 10, 15, 20?
Under 10. I didn't have the courage to go beyond that because I don't have enough of a team right now. And maybe you can help me with that.
Hey, I know this really cool recruiting firm called Riderflex.
It's hard to find somebody with great skills, attention to detail, and reliability in my space. Maybe in other spaces as well, but I'm struggling.
I totally understand. So, and that's a scary part, right? You're right at that phase now where, to scale it and take on more clients, you got to put more trust in people to do the actual work that you're currently doing. Same fear for Riderflex. When we first started, when I had to start hiring recruiters, I remember laying in bed at night going, my God, I hope they don't screw up the brand, because I spent a lot of time getting this reputation
Yeah.
going.
I'm at the point where I'm still able to be across everything and be
All right.
the control freak that I like to be. But
Yeah.
if I move
Yeah.
past this point, I need to have a little bit more of a support.
Yep, totally understand where you're at. Eventually, I got past it, but it was hard at first. You know, we started giving assignments to other recruiters, and I wasn't touching some of the searches anymore. I had a hard time with
And
it. My wife was like, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm like, "Well, first of all, I'm stressed out and scared that people are going to screw stuff up." But hey, you do your best to hire the right people, and you follow up on them, and hopefully they get it right. And when they don't, you step in and clean it up. I mean, that's part of it. That's part of scaling a business. So,
yes,
you know.
right.
So you do want to grow it to get acquired at some point. That's what you see eventually down the
Yes.
road. Do you have any early ideas on or targets maybe for somebody like who would acquire the business? Do you have any idea like,
Oh, no, I'm not growing it to be acquired. I might grow it to borrow against it, um, a
ah,
loan to potentially move into real estate.
I see. I see. Okay.
To
You mentioned real.
evaluate it,
I see.
yeah.
I see. I see.
I don't think
Okay.
I would sell it.
Gotcha.
I might change my
Gotcha.
mind, but I don't think so. It has too much of a potential, and there is too much IP behind it right now because I'm literally building everything from scratch from my mind and my
Mhm.
experience. So yeah, it's gonna be tricky to move away from that.
You mentioned real estate a couple of times. How'd you get that passion? Where'd the real estate bug come
Grant
in?
Cardone, I'm just obsessed.
Oh, gotcha.
I've
Do you
been
folks?
following him for years now, and it's only been in the last few months that I actually started buying courses, like actually training from him, real estate, how to invest, just to get an idea of what I might like, I might want to do in like 10,
Mm, mm,
5, 7 years.
mhm.
So yeah,
Okay, very good. Very good. Do your folks, do they have a bunch of real estate back in Romania?
they are pretty well off, but that hasn't been
That's not their
their
thing.
their focus. They're just hanging on to the business and growing it slowly.
Do you love Australia? You think you'll stay there, or do you have desires to go somewhere else at some point?
I don't think I will ever call something else home. Obviously, Romania is my home, but this is just every day. I'm just so grateful that I'm here. Like I can't believe it. I wake up. We just became citizens like a couple of weeks ago, so I'm like,
Congratulations.
yes, I
What's
love it.
what's the deal with COVID? Are you guys on lockdown or is it open right now? What's the status?
We've been handling Australia. Has been handling very well. Obviously now it's winter, so it's kind of picking up a little bit.
Mm, mm.
We have to wear masks in public spaces, but after we had that lockdown for I don't know 6 weeks or last year, life was back to normal for us. It wasn't much of an impact. It's just that we are actually we're locked down in the state that we are in. So who cares?
I got you.
I'll take that.
What do Australians think of Americans? I'm just curious. What do you hear on the streets? Like, do they think we're just a bunch of cowboys and we're just cocky cowboys over here? What's it?
I don't know, but I was surprised to be very accepted as a Romanian. As a Romanian, when you go like places in Europe, you're usually seen as a gypsy because they can't
Oh,
tell the
oh,
difference. They're like, oh, gypsy. But here, there are so many nationalities. It's like
oh, really?
it's hard to not find like a different type of nationality every step you take. So they're very
Really?
open,
Mm,
and very very friendly and very warm and acceptant of other nationalities.
Have you been to the States?
I've been to LA 3 years ago.
Okay. That's the only state you've ever been to in the US?
Yes, I'd love to see New York, but from what I've seen so far, I'm not impressed. Comparing it to Australia,
Uh,
that is.
okay, we don't want any hate emails from all of our New York friends, by the way. Well, you're gonna have to travel to New York to see Ron and the Obvi team, right?
I
Eventually.
will. I've been promising my daughter a Christmas in New York. Well, I
Ooh.
don't know when we're gonna make it happen, but that's on our bucket list.
Yeah, that's a special. I've been there. I've been there at Christmas time in New York, special time.
Is it nice?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I live in Colorado, so it's hard to beat Colorado at Christmas time. But yeah, New York's, it's its own animal.
I bet. Yeah.
Uh, okay, so let's get into some some pieces of advice here for the listeners that might want to start their own thing based on what you've learned. But first, just to clarify, bootstrapped from you, no outside cash, or did you have to borrow some money? Was there some seed
Nothing.
money, angel money, anything?
Nothing. Zero.
Bootstrapped from you. Okay, and so you weren't making any money at first. You're living off some fitness stuff you were doing / savings.
Well, I also worked in the Microsoft space for about a year,
Okay.
and that paid really well, and I had some savings, so
Okay.
I could take myself further.
Was your dad calling you saying, "What the hell? What the hell are you doing? What's your plan?" Were
I
your
think he
folks?
gave that up at some point. He just, well, whatever.
Whatever. Yeah. Okay. All right. So for the listeners, bootstrapped and everything on your own. Congratulations for getting it this far and not starving to death or getting kicked out of your wonderful home or condo or wherever you're at. You're on the beach, so I'm guessing it's a
Cares.
nice place. So, what would you tell the aspiring entrepreneur listening right now who wants to start their own tech business of some kind, but they're a little worried or a little nervous? What would you tell them based on what you've learned so far?
Well, because you mentioned no money, no financing, there is actually a secret to actually pulling it off without any sort of financial support.
What
And
is
that
that?
is outworking everyone you meet. I'm talking 16-hour days, Monday to Sunday for years.
It matters,
And
right? It matters. Like you got to have the hustle, right? I mean,
I've been doing this for about, at this point, 7 years, just searching for an idea that makes sense for me, that I know I'm going to love doing it for on the long term, and that I don't care about. I didn't care either way, outworking and like putting in those hours. But at the point where it starts to pay off, it's, obviously better. But it's outworking everyone and building the skill set. And then also promising a lot and then over delivering. I always go the extra mile with, it doesn't matter. Is this in the contract that we have to do it? It doesn't matter. If the client wants it, it brings more value. It's more value for me as well. So always goes the extra mile and over deliver on. If you can do it and you know how to do it, why not?
right. Okay, very good. Are you thinking about raising cash, by the way? Are
I don't need
you
it at this point.
Have you had calls from people that say they want to invest?
No, I haven't.
What happens if somebody calls tomorrow and they're like, "Hey," they hear this podcast episode and they're like, "Hey, you got something going there. We're interested in investing. Would you take on 500K?"
There is nothing I could do with 500K at the moment.
Well, you could
Like,
hire more. You could hire a sales team and you could then hire more employees to do the work when you get the clients.
well, the plan is to grow more as I get more clients. And that's going to give me more than enough to support everything. So that's the great thing about this business model, is that it only takes skill set to make
Okay.
it work.
I forgot to ask you about the business model, by the way. How do you charge? Do you charge by the project?
Monthly.
By like, how, yeah, go ahead.
It's a monthly recurring fee where we make sure that we make things happen. If the client comes up and tells us, I want to do this, this, and this, we're going to do it all.
Okay. Do you have to sign up for a year or is it just month to month?
Month to month. They can cancel anytime.
Cancel anytime. So if they don't like it, they can cancel. Okay. What's the fee? Can you tell us that?
Probably not.
So the fee's negotiable. There you go, listeners, right there. She just said fee's negotiable. No, I'm just playing. Okay. So, but they can, and by the way, you can also, if you want to find out more, it is GR0W AI. Is that the best thing for listeners to
Yes.
do? Go to GR0W AI.
But it's grow with a zero because that was the only way.
That is right. It is grow with a zero. Sorry, forgot to mention that. It is grow with a zero.
Yeah, it's
instead of an
tricky.
O. Grow with a zero. Now they can also, are you okay with people connecting with you on LinkedIn as well?
The LinkedIn is probably my only social media channel that I'm active on almost every day. So yes,
Okay.
LinkedIn, that's it.
Liziana Carter.
Yes.
Okay. But it's not Liz, right? Liziana Carter on
Yes.
LinkedIn. You can find her there and you can connect with her as well. Okay. Two last questions here. I know we're getting close to wrap up. I know how old you are because you put it in a posting on LinkedIn, just so you know. So
It
I
is what
think
it is.
I think you said you were 37. So I don't know how old that post is. So is that am I close?
It's last week. So I turned 37 last week.
Oh, late happy birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
37. So if you could call the 21-year-old young lady back in Romania and tell her anything now based on what you've learned, what would you say?
I would probably tell her that whatever happens, you'll be just fine.
Based on some experiences you've gone through?
Well, it hasn't been hard. Like I like to laugh about things and only emphasize the good things now, but it wasn't easy. The last 7 years, it was not just being in a new country with just my daughter and working it out, but then working towards something that only I could see happening. It was an image just in my head. Like I wanted to do something like this, and I quit my Microsoft job. I quit my life in Romania just to chase something that was really only very clear in my head. Nobody else was seeing. My parents weren't seeing. My friends weren't seeing. My partner wasn't seeing it. So everybody kind of dropped off along the way, and I kept going alone. I'm like, I'm just going to do it. So I guess probably another piece of advice for people who are pursuing something that they feel is not happening is we don't deserve the things yet. So we need to build the skill set, the experience, and go through the whole process to actually deserve the life that we want to have the business that we have the family that we have. We just don't deserve it. We always look and find excuses around not having it. But the easiest person to fool is usually ourselves. We just keep on telling ourselves these stories that I can't do it. It's not going to happen. It's not happening. But we really haven't earned the right to have the life that we want to have until we have. I hope that makes sense.
That's a good message, Liz. No, it's great. That's really great stuff. Well, do you want to? Was there a few dark moments in there where you're laying in bed at night saying to yourself, "What the hell am I doing? I'm not sure this is going to work." You're waking up at 3 a.m. in the morning and panicked.
There were dark moments that were coming from my personal life. I struggled with insomnia for many, many months. My grandma died back in Romania, and that really knocked me off. So I struggled in terms of physical, like my body just couldn't handle all of the stuff, but not in terms of business failure, because I kept failing at stuff. And the second I failed, I had the next idea, the next best thing in my mind and already rolling with it.
I love that part about you quitting the Microsoft job. I can just almost visualize, you people weren't believing, right? Your folks are doubting you. Your friend at the coffee shop is saying, "What the hell are you doing? Why are you quitting the Microsoft job? You shouldn't do that." And
and that had been actually probably my biggest accomplishment in terms of my career, because when I decided to go into the Microsoft space, everybody was telling me there is no way, excuse me, there is no way you're going to get in. You don't have the experience and you have no certifications, and there's no way you're going to get into this space.
And you got it.
Well, you as a recruiter might appreciate how I got it.
Tell me.
I think I spent about a month DMing on LinkedIn every single Microsoft partner companies that do use Microsoft products. And I have this like speech where I was telling like, this is what I've done. I've worked with ERP systems before. I will work for free. Just give me a chance.
Wow. Wow.
And like after I don't know how many 100 messages, this guy from Sydney, David, my former boss, gets back to me and he's like, "Can you do this?" And he sends me a link with a new system Microsoft had just released. So I had a look at it. I had a look at the release date. I'm like, well, nobody really knows how to do this. So yeah, I'll do it.
So
That was
good.
it.
I always love it when I meet salespeople. We touched on this earlier. I'll meet a salesperson and I'll say, well, how many calls did you make today? Well, I made 3 calls and I sent a couple of emails.
Yeah.
This is not even close, right? What another great lesson for the listeners, DMing people for a month to get into Microsoft. Wow, that's a good story. I like that.
Yeah. Like Grant Cardone does say in one of his courses, you have to be unreasonable. Unreasonable. You heard that right. When you follow up and you prospect, just be unreasonable.
Be unreasonable. I love it. No, that's so good. That's so good. Last question. I know we're almost out of time. If you had to put your core purpose in life into a sentence or two, kind of defining Liz's core purpose, why she's walking around on planet Earth, beyond taking care of your daughter, which is kind of the special core purpose. Let's set that aside. Beyond your daughter, what is Liz's core purpose?
Freedom. I cannot stand not being free or being told what to do. So I need to be like, whoever accepts me needs to accept the fact that I need to have 100% control over what I do. I need to be free, not. And I think
Confined.
Yes. Just because I have my own mind, and it's not easy to deal with me sometimes. I know that.
Oh, your next okay. So your next partner in your personal life needs to be prepared.
Yes, he needs to be prepared. That's probably one of the aspects that hasn't really worked out. Well, something's got to give, right?
It's pretty good. Liz, thank you so much for being on the Riderflex podcast. I really appreciate you sharing your story and advice for the listeners. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Steve.